That was beautiful, thank you. Good morning. Good morning at the Admiral, good morning on Zoom, and good morning here in the loft. I'm Rob Muller, a member of the Board of Trustees, and welcome to Second Unitarian Church. Today, like I just said, we're in person at the Admiral at the Lake, here in the 2U loft, and on Zoom. We're glad you're with us, whichever way you're attending. If you're in the loft and would benefit from hearing assistance, we have devices available. Please see Joey in the back. Also, other board members are Claire Gervaisi, Barb Michael, Curtis Smith, Carla Tebby, Megan Dunning, and John Broom. We'd all love to hear from you. In accordance with public health guidelines, we're mask optional here in the sanctuary. We continue to monitor public health advice and want to make our worship as safe as possible for everyone. We especially welcome new visitors this morning. We're excited to have you with us and look forward to getting to know you. If you're new today, note as such in the Zoom chat or mention it in person during conversation after the service. Due to construction, which you probably noticed as you walked in, we're not having coffee hour downstairs today. Rather, we'll mill around up here and say hello to each other. And yes, there will be coffee, or so I understand. Our worship today is led by Reverend Jason Lydon and Ben as worship associate. Music is provided by Marianne Parker, Rosalind Hurwitz, and George Cedarquist. Our time together requires a large group of people who make possible the worship, music, and technical production of our services. They're listed in the order of service, and we thank them for their ongoing support of our congregation. And also many thanks to so many of you who serve our congregation in countless other ways every day. Following the service today in the Fleischman Fellowship Hall in the basement, we'll be gathering for an ice cream social to welcome our new Director of Faith Development, Brittany Morse. This is a time that will be especially good for children, though those of us who are young in spirit and not are also welcome to attend. Before I welcome Ben to lead us in our call to worship, Reverend Jason has an announcement.
Prior to the pandemic beginning, we really only had one outdoor service per year. With the pandemic, we've tried having an assortment of outdoor services, and next week we are going to be outdoors at Horner Park, and it's going to be in the tradition of our earlier outdoor services, where it is not a structured service in the sense that we have a sermon and readings, but instead it is created after Joys and Concerns by you. And so I have a sign-up sheet if you might want to share a poem, a song, a skit with your best friend, whatever it is that might be on your heart that meets your spiritual needs. We would love to hear your contributions. And so I'm going to pass around this little sign-up sheet. And if someone can make sure it gets back to me, that would be wonderful. And we will celebrate all together outdoors next Sunday. And I welcome Ben to lead our call to worship.
Hi, I'm Ben. As previously stated, I just have to find my page. Here we go. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children, youth, and adults, a people of many beliefs and traditions, bound not by the specific list of things we believe, but by the values we share. Whether you are joining us for the first time or for the 1000th time, you are welcome here. Whatever your race, whomever you love, whichever way you move in the world, however much money is in your pocket, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God some of the time, all of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. I invite you now to take a deep breath in and out. As the music begins, let us enter into our service together.
Thank you. In just a moment, Zella here in the loft and Harris at the Admiral will light our chalices, the symbol of our faith. And we light our chalices this morning with these words from religious educator Angus MacLean. Our message for our children is not a creed, not a particular book, not a particular Messiah. It is a way and a method by which the child is helped to grow in self-understanding, in the understanding of others, and in a full relationship to our universe. So as we kindle this flame, may we celebrate the possibility of learning and teaching together. You can come right on up, Zella.
Singing hymn number 345, With Joy We Claim the Growing Light. With joy we claim the growing light, advancing thought and widening view, the light of freedom, clearer sight, which from the old unfolds the new. With wider view come loftier goal, with fuller light more good to see, with freedom truer self-control, which from the old unfold the new.
And now, time for the covenant. Please remain standing if you are able. And now the words are on your screen. We covenant to build a community that challenges us to grow and empowers us to honor the truth within ourselves. We will be generous with our gifts and honest in our communications, holding faithful to a love that embraces diversity and conflict. Called by our living tradition, we will nurture spirituality within a vision of the eternal, living out our inner convictions through struggles for justice and acts of compassion.
Please join me in singing our congregational hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice, roots oblique close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
I'm trying to move this. I want to invite those who are young in heart or young in age to come join me up here by the pulpit. I would love to see your faces. I'm going to sit down here too. And so is Judy's going to join. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's so nice to be with you this morning. Welcome to church. So I wanted to ask all of you what you think the reason is that we have Sunday school on Sunday mornings. Why do we do that? What's the point? Yeah, what do you think? And say, can you share your name too? We do it because some children don't want to just sit here for a long time. Absolutely. That's a very good reason. Sitting and listening to sermons, not always the most fun when we're feeling excited to do things. What else? Why else might we have Sunday school? Yeah, Zella. So we can learn more about the world. What else? Any other ideas on why do you think we have Sunday school? Any thoughts? Not right now. We can hide instead. That's okay. Julia, any thoughts about why we have Sunday school? No? Judy, what do you think?
Well, I think you get to learn some new things that you don't learn in school.
Learn some new things that you don't learn in school. Absolutely. Well, one of the things that maybe the adults don't know, but that I bet at least a few of you might know, is every Sunday when we start Sunday school downstairs, we have our own children's covenant that we say. And it begins with some hand movements. And I'm wondering if you might be willing to stand up and show the congregation what it is. I don't actually know all the words myself, and I really should, but I'm wondering, I bet, Julia, I think you know all the words, and Zella, do you know all the words? No? Do you know the hand motions, though? All right, maybe we can try standing up, and Julia's gonna show the congregation, and can I give you the microphone? Great.
Wait, but don't I need both my hands?
You probably, here, I can hold it for you.
We are Unitarian Universalists. This is the church of the open mind. This is the church of the flaming chalice that lights our search for truth. This is the church of the loving heart that helps us share good feelings and bad, joys and sorrows together.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you celebrating your Unitarian Universalism, and we're going to be talking all about RE today, religious education today, and you're invited, of course, to stay and hang out with us because we don't have Sunday school yet. It starts in September, but there's also a nursery place to hang out, and there's things in the back for coloring, so do whatever it is that your body needs while we go through our service together. Thank you all so much. You can sit back down. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I apologize. Big kids can't hang out in the nursery. I am giving you false information. But you can play with the coloring books and all the other fun things in the back. For each year, we all make a commitment, a pledge to support the ministry of our church. In addition to this pledge that we make each year, we take a collection every Sunday so that we can share with those who are doing justice work well beyond our walls. And you can make your contributions to the plate, which isn't actually being passed around right now, but our virtual plate, by following the text prompts that are listed in your order of service and will shortly be on your screen. For the month of August, we're sharing our plate with the Cook County Jail Community Support Project, and I invite Joy to share some words with us. There's Joy.
Here you are. Hello, everyone. My name is Joy. Messenger, my pronouns are they, them, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the Social Justice Ministries here at 2U. And I want to share some information about our Plate Share organization, the Chicago Community Jail Support. For folks who have been here for the past couple of weeks, you've probably learned a number of things about Chicago Community Jail Support, that they're a mutual aid group that started in May 2020 after the murder of George Floyd to provide support to protesters who are being released from Cook County Jail. And then the group continued, seeing that there was a wider need to support folks who were being released. You've probably heard about the ways that funding gets used to pay for water and snacks, clothes, bus cards, rides, sometimes housing for folks who are getting released from Cook County Jail. But I wanted to share some new information and a new way that you can help us take action to support our neighbors who are currently incarcerated and being released. So for everyone who has a paper, order of service, for those of you who are here in person, you can turn to the collection plate page. There's a bit.ly link right before the instructions for text giving. If you're going to hand back in your order of service, be sure to take a picture of this on your phone so you can follow this bit.ly link later. For those of you who've already been on that link, it's been updated since yesterday. Actually, I updated it yesterday, so be sure to look at it again. One of the ways that Chicago Community Jail Support also works in solidarity with people who are being released is by uplifting their concerns about the conditions of Cook County Jail as they are coming out and as they are getting support. So I wanted to share the following reports from folks who were incarcerated in Cook County Jail this past week and urge everyone to take collective action. So on August 12th through 15th, people being released from Cook County Jail reported no access to running water. And this was as jail temperatures were extremely hot and staying that way. People say that they were offered one bottle of water over a 24-hour period and saw others passing out from the heat and dehydration, which is terrible. Toilets weren't flushing. People were taking off their shirts to cool down. Some people even reported not even being offered bottled water. An incarcerated person said that they would die from thirst. And a corrections officer told them, if you die, that's on you. That's not very you of that corrections officer, right? On Wednesday, August 16th, this past Wednesday, water service was restored, but the water appears to be running gray, and it smells and tastes terrible. And one person said that a corrections officer told him not to drink the water that was coming out of the faucet. Chicago Community Jail Support recognizes that this is a direct violation of the UN Human Rights Minimum Standards for the treatment of prisoners. You might be asking, what can I do? Well, so I pointed out that link because there is a short script that we have written up for folks to call or to email the Cook County Jail and one of the Cook County commissioners, letting them know about these conditions, letting them know that they are in violation of the UN Human Rights Minimum Standards, and asking for dignity for all of our neighbors, whether they are incarcerated or not. So thank you, Ricky, for putting that link into the Zoom chat for folks who are joining us online. And please, as you are making your donations, be sure to take a picture of that link so you can take action later. Cook County Jail Support is providing such an essential service that shouldn't be needed, but is really important and very much welcome to folks who are being incarcerated. I remember 2 years ago, it was actually around, I think this exact date, actually, that I was arrested doing civil disobedience following the protests against the murder of George Floyd. And even though I knew that I might be arrested and had a lot of folks who were supporting me in that action, It was still really powerful to be greeted by people who were doing jail support outside the police station when I was released. I was injured when I was arrested, and so they were able to show up with resources. They had food, they had water. This is the same thing that Chicago Community Jail Support is supplying for folks who may have been in Cook County Jail for even longer than I was held at that police station that day. So thank you to everyone who has already donated. Thank you to everyone who will donate and will take action in solidarity with our neighbors, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you.
It is time for the offertory. The words are not currently on your screen, but they will be shortly, I hope. Here they are. Cool. This church is the community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm it and enable its participation in the larger world around us. The offertory will now be generously given and gratefully received.
Please join me in the spirit of prayer or meditation. Let us start by breathing together. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Try relaxing the muscles in your shoulders. Release the tension in your neck. Unclench that beautiful jaw of yours. And just breathe into this space. We begin always in thanks. Thankful for the breath in our lungs, the beauty of our earth, and the strength of this, our beloved community. We hold in our hearts those who care for family in ill health, those who live with grief or chronic pain, those struggling with addiction or illness, seen and unseen. We are with you. For parents and teachers and all those whose primary spiritual practice is the care of children, we are with you. Pray for our neighbors in prison, for those who are struggling to stay afloat in the midst of poverty, for refugees coming into our community needing places to stay and food to eat. We are with you. As gun violence continues, we pray for all those living in harm's way. As people repair and take care from the fires in Hawaii and Maui, we keep in mind and pray for our planet and commit to work that will lead us away from the harms of climate chaos. While wars rage, we pray that wisdom, compassion, and empathy guide the leaders of our world. May they and we be instruments of a just and lasting peace. Our lives are truly blessed by those who knowingly, with curiosity and courage, face their final days. Into this, our shared silence across space, I invite you now to speak the name of anyone you wish to lift up into the loving support of our community. With our deepest compassion, let us hold in our hearts those named and unnamed, those remembered and those forgotten. Let it be so. Amen and blessed be. During our ritual of lighting candles for joys and concerns, we want to continue to maintain our safety with each other. So in the 2U loft, you're invited in a moment to come forward and light a candle. And as you end your time of contemplation and candle lighting, we invite you to use the hand sanitizer that's available. For those at the Admiral, I invite you to come forward. Take a pebble from one bowl, hold it tightly in your hand, and then, knowing your joys and sorrows to be shared by this community, let it go lightly into the other bowl. For those of us on Zoom, please join by sharing your joys or concerns in our chat window, and I will light a candle here to represent your celebrations and sorrows. We hold all of these, our shared joys, celebrations, concerns, and sorrows close to our hearts. Ben, would you share our first reading, please?
Yes. Our first reading this morning is written by 19th century Unitarian minister Reverend William Ellery Channing. The text of this reading can be found in the Gray Hymnal, number 652. I would also like to point out, since it is the theme of learning, that I learned a new word, which is ineradicable. I didn't know what that word meant, and I looked it up. It means unable to be destroyed. The great end in religious instruction is not to stamp our minds upon the young, but to stir up their own, not to make them see with our eyes, but to look inquiringly and steadily with their own, not to give them a definite amount of knowledge, but to inspire a fervent love of truth, not to form an outward regularity, but to touch inward springs, not to bind them to an ineradicable prejudices, but to our particular sect or peculiar notions, but to prepare them for impartial, conscientious judging of whatever subjects may be offered to their decision. Not to burden the memory, but to quicken and strengthen the power of thought. Not to impose religion upon them in any form of arbitrary uses, but to awaken the consciousness and moral discernment. In a word, the great end is to awaken the soul, to excite and cherish spiritual life.
Thanks, Ben. And thanks for clarifying some vocabulary for us. So helpful. Our second reading this morning is a story from the Reverend Elizabeth Tarbucks. She writes, "When I was a child, my stepmother gave me and my sister each a lima bean. She showed us how to dampen some blotting paper and line a jam jar with it, and how to place the bean carefully between the blotting paper and the jar. She told us to stand the jars on the windowsill in our bedroom and to keep the blotting paper wet and watch and see what would happen." Some of us have probably done that. A little later, I took my bean out and polished it with some furniture polish. It was all shiny now and smelled so much better than my sister's bean. In a few days, my sister's bean swelled and got strong white roots pushing out from the bottom of the bean. My bean sat there. A week later, my sister's bean sprouted a green shoot that forced its way up and out of the top of the jar. My bean did nothing, but began to look a little wrinkly. In another week, my sister's jar was full of roots and shoots and a bean that was ready to be planted. My bean shriveled up and fell to the bottom of the jar, and so I threw it away. How often have I covered things with furniture polish to make them shiny, to make them smell better? How often in my life have I cared more about the ways things looked, how they smelled, rather than how they really were? I spent half a lifetime covering my feelings with the emotional equivalent of furniture polish, thinking that if I looked good and smelled good, that ache inside would go away. But spirits are not like beans, thank God. They may shrivel with neglect, but as long as life persists, there is a chance to wash the polish off and redeem the growing that is inside. Let us hear our anthem. Thank you both very much. As Ben just shared with us, the great preacher and teacher of Unitarianism in the 19th century, Reverend William Ellery Channing, wrote, "The great end in religious instruction is not to stamp our minds upon the young, but to stir up their own." This is still our call as Unitarian Universalists in the 21st century, nearly 200 years after Channing delivered these words about religious education to Unitarian Christians. But what does it all mean, all of his words and these words? What does it look like for us to truly invest in our children without trying to create just little mini-me versions of ourselves? How do we best create a faith development program that celebrates their individual and collective wisdom? This is one of our great tasks as members of 2U who want to love our children with our whole hearts and empower a program that flourishes with children's engagement. So that said, before I get to some of the answers to those questions, I want to begin my first sermon back by saying thank you for the time off that I got to have. It was such a blessing to get to recharge and reinvigorate my own spirit. I had time for reflection and discernment, study and relaxation. The best part of my time off, though, was spending time with my nieces and nephews, or nibblings, as people are using these days, as gender-affirming, expansive ways of reflecting on that special relationship that is free from the gender binary. I had the opportunity, my nieces and nephews currently are identifying on the binary, so I'll use that for them, and excited for when they might choose differently or live differently. There are 9 of them, and I got to see all of them. 2 of them, some of you got to meet briefly, Colum and Ronan. They came and spent a week with me here in Chicago. And when I tell you that I had a blast with them, that doesn't even come close to express how wonderful it was to connect with their beautiful spirits. We went to the aquarium, the Museum of Science and Industry, the Harold Washington Library, Maggie Daley Park, and as a good Chicagoan, I introduced them to deep dish pizza, which I was glad about. And on one of the evenings, we went out for sushi because it's Ronan's favorite food, quite the sophisticated palate that young guy has. And as we finished our meal, he turns to me with this big grin and says, "Can I have some more, please?" And of course the answer is yes, because it's hard to say no to those beautiful young faces, something I can imagine some of you have experienced. And I know that these 2 boys are wonderful and amazing people, and I was so lucky to get to spend time with them. Another one of my favorite moments, though, was when Colin was talking about the people who go to his UU church in Pennsylvania, and he was just saying, well, he or she or they find home in our church. This 11-year-old has no problem with gender-neutral pronouns. He has no anxiety about referring to people the way they want to be referred to. He's not concerned about the grammar issues that come up when people say, we can't use a singular they. He has love in his heart and wants to respect those who are around him. Because to be honest, in some ways, Ron DeSantis and the reactionary conservatives, some of what they say is right. The world that they knew, it is changing. Gender is changing, and our children are leading the way. How lucky are we as adults to be part of this moment of radical shifting? How lucky are we as adults to be in relationship with young people who constantly center love, just as our faith is trying to do? Now, I could stand up here and talk about my nieces and nephews for the rest of forever. I could tell you stories about how great they are and how much my life is better because I know them. That's not the purpose of our service, though. I highlight my experience with them this summer, though, because I want us to remember that spending time with children is a blessing in addition to a responsibility. I want us to hear stories of intergenerational connections that lead to shared flourishing and sweetness. There are so many types of relationships that adults have with children, whether that be as parents, grandparents, teachers, including Sunday school teachers, therapists, aunties and uncles, or my favorite gunkle, gay uncle. And no matter what that relationship is, we can all learn from Reverend Channing's message. We are not to stamp children with our own vision, but create space where they get to cultivate their own sense of self and belief. Unitarian Universalists were blessed with an incredible religious educator, Sophia Lyons-Foss. She taught children for decades, and she taught religious educators, and she created a space that centered the lives of children and worked to create curricula that was age-specific. I want to share some of her words about religious education with you. Some beliefs are like walled gardens, she writes. They encourage exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged. Other beliefs are expansive and lead the way into wider and deeper sympathies. Some beliefs are like shadows clouding children's days and fears of unknown calamities. Other beliefs are like sunshine, blessing children with the warmth and happiness. Some beliefs are diverse, some beliefs are divisive, separating saved and unsaved, friends from enemies. Other beliefs are bonds in a world community where sincere differences beautify the pattern. Some beliefs are like blinders, shutting off the power to choose one's own direction. Other beliefs are like gateways, opening wide vistas for exploration. So we remind ourselves each Sunday that we gather not because of a specific set of beliefs, but by the values we share. We are not prescribing beliefs for our young people, but facilitating space where they are creating their beliefs as Unitarian Universalists. Our religious education is not without an agenda, however. We are certainly trying to create inspired and committed lifelong UUs. Not because we believe we have the most right religion, but because we believe that Unitarian Universalism has a life-saving message that can transform and does transform lives. This, I don't think, makes us proselytizers, but rather good stewards of our faith. There's a difference. Just like that moment when you invited a friend to come to church because you thought they might like it, we are responsible for creating a Unitarian Universalism that is meaningful to the youngest amongst us. During our conversations about the future of faith development leadership at our church, you all offered some thoughts on why faith development ministry is important at 2U. And here are some of the things that you said. We need to grow more UUs. It's important to help parents articulate our values. A healthy church means a mix of generations and intergenerational community. The world needs people with critical thinking skills. Our youth need a support network and need to be able to articulate their faith and values. Sounds like a delight to me, a good reason for a program. My question back to you is, what will you do to make this happen? Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Reverend Jason, you've preached about religious education before. Working with our youngest folks just isn't for me. I hear you. It's not always easy to work with young people. I think many adults get anxious about what it would take to lead a class and manage the needs of multiple children. I think a lot of that anxiety, though, comes from a lack of relationship. I think lots of this anxiety comes from simply not knowing, what am I supposed to do? But I wonder if you knew that for our children's program, there is a curriculum already established, chosen by Brittany Morse, our Director of Faith Development. I wonder if you knew that all the activities you need to teach and run on any specific Sunday are already chosen for you. You just have to show up. You just have to lend your labor and time to nurture our young people. How amazing would it be if our young people saw that every one of the adults in our church participated in some way with our children's program? I'm not asking you to teach every Sunday forever. I'm asking you to consider what it might mean for you to say yes when Brittany asks for adults to make commitments, whether that's to teach, to care for, to nurture, advise, or mentor, or in some other way embrace the responsibility of being with the youngest amongst us. We struggle at 2U to get enough adults to teach on Sunday mornings. We struggle to get enough adults in the Green Caterpillar room, the nursery for children under 3, which I inappropriately said other older kids could go to. We struggle to get adults to volunteer when we have intergenerational events. It's a challenge. But beloveds, I don't want this to be a struggle. I want us to do better. As Brittany takes on her new role with us, I want her to be showered with adults, ready to be present with our young people. I want you to respond to emails when she reaches out to you. I want you to reach out to her and ask to get coffee or lunch and see how you might best support her in this new lay ministry of hers. Our children need you. Brittany needs you. I need you. Unitarian Universalism needs you. While we so often hear that children are the future, and thank you to the late, great Whitney Houston for that, and while that is true, children are also our present. Our faith flourishes when we have a vibrant program for children and youth. Our adults have a renewed sense of faith when they are getting to work with our youngest. You only need pay attention to how great our children are during the Time for All Ages each Sunday and be reminded why this work is fulfilling. So, what do we do? If our children's program is like the lima bean in Reverend Tarbox's reading, we know one thing we're not supposed to do. We're not trying to polish our program. We're not trying to have a program that looks the cutest, that smells like lavender, or is somehow perfect. The beauty is in our messy growth. We want the lima bean that flourishes in the paper towel. We want the plant that grows wildly rather than the one that shrivels up. Just like a program does not need to be polished, neither do we need to be polished as participants in it. You don't need to be an expert in children's education to be of service to our young people. You don't need to be anything but loving and caring as an adult with appropriate boundaries that can listen and teach with grace. For some of us, our faith in God will offer comfort and direction. For others of us, our connection to the universe will remind us about the potential for growth. There are those of us who will be inspired by the great reason offered by scientists and intellectuals who inform and shape our faith. Wherever you get your grounding, that power exists within you, and it can be harnessed for transformation in the lives of young people. Khalil Gibran writes, "Your children are not your children. They are children of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, they belong not to you." So when I talk about our children, I'm not trying to suggest that they belong to us. Rather, we hold a responsibility for them and we're accountable to them. As our children come through us, through our church, through our love, and for some of us, through our bodies, we need to remember that they are also incredible autonomous beings who are entitled to be taught values that center love and root them in nurturing environments. Children are entitled to care and collectives of adults reaching out to them. Research shows time and time again that children who have healthy relationships with adults have greater outcomes in their lives. This connection is part of what makes Unitarian Universalism a life-saving tradition. I am certain I would not be the person I am today had so many adults not taken the time to serve our faith and hold me with care and compassion. This is our faith's call, and this is my call to you. Find your place to serve. Love our children. Celebrate the sounds children make during worship services, even if it's not at the right moment. Teach Sunday school. Volunteer to help with children during Fall Fest. Talk to our children during coffee hour and get to know their names. Learn appropriate boundaries. And if you have questions about those, check in with me or Brittany. And live into those boundaries with meaningful intention. And so I want to invite you to take a moment. If you've been a teacher in our children's program, could you raise your hand, please? Or type your name in our chat. Keep your hand raised. If you've served in the Green Caterpillar Room, would you raise your hand as well? If you've served on the Lifespan Faith Development Committee, would you raise your hand? If you've led a story during the Time for All Ages, would you raise your hand, please? Thank you all for your service to our congregation. It is clear that it takes the work of many to meet the needs of our children. As we return to our sanctuary in the coming weeks, as we open the doors to renewed space, may we each open our hearts to ministry with our children. No stamps needed, just faithful hands and collective love. Let it be so, and amen.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing our closing hymn, number 100, in the gray hymnal, I've Got Peace Like a River. We're going to do the first 3 verses. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace
you're sharing your life with in these pandemic times, and hear these words from Sweet Honey in the Rock's Ella song in celebration of civil rights movement icon Ella Baker. The older I get, the better I know that the secret of my going on is when the reins are in the hands of the young who dare to run against the storm. Let it be so. Go in peace, my friends. And go have ice cream down in Fleischmann and get to say hello to Brittany and share in deliciousness with each other and time together. Coffee and tea are in Fleischmann.